During the 20th century, no nation shaped the battlefield with tanks more profoundly than the Soviet Union. From the frozen forests outside Moscow to the burning streets of Berlin, Soviet armored vehicles became symbols of mass production, brutal efficiency, and relentless advance. Later, as the Soviet Union collapsed and Russia emerged in its place, that same armored philosophy continued, evolving but never disappearing. This is not just a list of machines. This is the story of how Soviet and Russian tanks changed warfare forever. From crude interwar experiments to Cold War giants and modern battlefield monsters, this video covers every major Soviet and Russian tank ever made, tracing the lineage of steel that defined an empire's military power. After the Russian Civil War, the newly formed Soviet Union faced a serious problem. It had almost no modern armored vehicles. Early Soviet tank development relied heavily on foreign designs, particularly British and French models captured or licensed during the interwar years. The T-18 MS-1 became the first domestically produced Soviet tank. Small, lightly armored, and modestly armed, it was primarily a training vehicle, but it marked the beginning of Soviet armored independence. Throughout the 1930s, Soviet engineers pursued speed and mass production above all else. This philosophy gave birth to the BT series, fast tanks inspired by American Christie suspension designs. The BT-2, BT-5, and BT-7 could reach astonishing speeds for their time, emphasizing maneuver warfare over protection. Alongside them appeared the T-26, a slow but reliable infantry support tank. Though lightly armored, it was produced in massive numbers and formed the backbone of Soviet armored forces before World War II. While light and fast tanks dominated Soviet doctrine, designers also experimented with heavy breakthrough vehicles. The T-28, a multi-turreted medium tank, and the massive T-35 with 5 turrets reflected early Soviet fascination with overwhelming firepower. In practice, these tanks proved mechanically unreliable and tactically flawed. Their size made them difficult to maintain, and their complex designs were poorly suited for modern warfare. Still, these failures provided critical lessons that would soon lead to one of the most influential tanks in history. In 1940, the Soviet Union introduced a tank that would redefine armored warfare, the T-34. With sloped armor, a powerful gun, wide tracks for rough terrain, and unmatched production efficiency, the T-34 combined protection, firepower, and mobility in a way no other tank had before. Early versions mounted a 76mm gun, later upgraded to the devastating T-34-85, which could engage German Panthers and Tigers effectively. The T-34 wasn't perfect, it had poor optics and cramped crew conditions, but its simplicity and ruggedness allowed it to be built and repaired faster than any enemy tank. Over 80,000 units were produced, making it the most iconic Soviet tank of World War II. While the T-34 dominated the medium tank role, the Soviets also fielded heavy tanks designed to smash fortified positions and enemy armor. The KV-1 shocked German forces in 1941 with armor that early anti-tank weapons could barely penetrate. Though slow and mechanically strained, it proved the value of heavy armor. After World War II, the Soviet Union reassessed its armored doctrine. Heavy tanks were powerful but expensive and logistically demanding. The future belonged to a new concept, the main battle tank. The T-44 served as a transitional design, improving crew layout and armor while setting the stage for what would become the most produced tank family in history. The T-64 represented a radical departure from previous Soviet tanks. It introduced composite armor, an autoloader that reduced crew size to 3, and a powerful 125mm smoothbore gun. However, the T-64 was complex and expensive, limiting its export. It remained largely within elite Soviet units, but influenced every Soviet tank that followed. To complement the advanced but costly T-64, the Soviets developed the T-72, simpler, cheaper, and easier to maintain. The T-72 became one of the most widely exported tanks in history. It saw combat in the Middle East, the Balkans, and later conflicts, with mixed results depending on training and support. Despite criticism, the T-72's basic design proved adaptable, spawning countless upgrades and variants that remain in service today. The T-80 introduced a gas turbine engine, giving it exceptional acceleration and cold weather performance. However, its high fuel consumption made it expensive to operate. Used primarily by elite Soviet units, the T-80 later saw combat in Chechnya, where urban warfare exposed vulnerabilities in Soviet tank doctrine. With the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Russia inherited vast armored forces but limited resources. Rather than creating entirely new designs, Russian engineers focused on upgrading existing platforms. The most ambitious Russian tank project to date is the T-14 Armata. Featuring an unmanned turret, advanced sensors, and modular armor, it represents a complete break from traditional Soviet design philosophy. While production remains limited, the Armata signals Russia's intention to redefine armored warfare for the 21st century. Soviet and Russian tanks were never designed to be luxurious or comfortable. They were built to be produced in massive numbers, repaired quickly, and operated under harsh conditions. This philosophy shaped conflicts across the globe and influenced tank design far beyond Soviet borders. From the humble T-18 to the futuristic T-14, Soviet and Russian tanks tell a story of adaptation, resilience, and relentless innovation. They were not always perfect, but they were always formidable. These machines didn't just fight wars, they defined eras. If you enjoyed this complete armored history, let us know in the comments which tank you think was the most influential. And don't forget to subscribe for more full military arsenals from history.